Hello everyone and welcome back guys to a brand new video. But today we're here back with round 20 of Season 2 of the F1 2020 McLaren RTG career mode. If you guys missed out the last video from the US Grand Prix, definitely recommend going back and checking out some controversial moments back at COTA. Obviously, of course, there will be spoilers in just a moment. So yeah, if you do want to go check out that video, definitely recommend doing so as well. But yeah, heading though to the Mexican Grand Prix, 3 races left to go of the season. And we could be world champion here today, as you guys probably read in the title. The gap at the top of the standings, 56 points as we head into this race. Now, obviously, heading to the Brazilian Grand Prix next round, if we've got a 52-point lead at the top of the standings, therefore we will become world champion. Although 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins apiece. To Lando Norris is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins for Lando Norris. So we would technically need a 53-point gap heading to the Brazilian Grand Prix next time. So we can afford to lose 3 points to our teammate today, which basically just means if he wins, the title fight carries on. If we finish directly behind him, we're probably world champion, depending on what happens with the fastest laps. Obviously, as we dive into this, I will make sure, obviously, we dive into that a bit more as the race goes on. But yeah, 20 races into this season, 3 to go. Let's dive in then to the Mexican Grand Prix. So here we are then, ready for qualifying for the Mexican Grand Prix, round 20 of the World Championship, and this track should be interesting between us and Mercedes. Obviously quite high speed, but obviously a fair few twisty bits in the second and third sector as well. And so yeah, very intrigued to see how we're going to get on in qualifying here today. But let's just head out onto the circuit then. We'll wait and see as to whether we can try and get the car back on the front row of the grid. Qualifying has been a bit shaky over the last couple of weekends, so hopefully today can be a bit of a better day for us. On the run towards turn 1, we should be able to gain a little bit of margin over most of the AR. Obviously running quite a low aero setup this weekend. We just want to be difficult to get around in the race, in all honesty, is sort of our main aim for this one. Try and take as much curve as you dare through the first couple of corners, or a little bit wide on the exit of turn 3. That's going to cost us a bit of time as we head down in towards sector 2. You can see we are a little bit clear of the Mercedes. They're purple at the end of Sector 1. We really haven't had many pole positions over the entirety of this series. It's normally been Sunday, obviously, where all the points are given out, that we have been strong as we head out of the first complex of Sector 2. Try and keep it nice and pinned through the S's there as you just try to sort of balance the car across. There we go, that was a nice tidy run through Sector 2 of the lap, and you can see Lando Norris is actually up into P2 at the moment as well then. So McLaren looking good this weekend. They're running a little bit wide as we head into the stadium section. Normally the sector of the track I struggle with the most, as again we get a little bit out of shape. One more corner to go. Can we get the power down out of the final turn? A little bit of wheel spin. It's going to be incredibly close, but it is Lando Norris who once again takes pole away from us right at the end of the session there, and I'll be honest, that's a little bit gutting.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Norris, Mr. Monaco, and Valtteri Bottas. Goodbye for now then, but we're really just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
So there we go then, less than a tenth of a second between myself and Lando Norris, but it is our teammate once again who gets the better of us on Saturday there. Bottas in P3 ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Of course, this is now officially a 2-horse race for the Drivers' World Championship as well. McLaren have wrapped up both World Championships. We just don't know which one yet is going to win the driver's title when all is said and done there. Max Verstappen always gone well at this track in P5. They're best of the rest, I guess you could dub it at this point. They're ahead of Perez, Homeboy, and then both Ferraris, they're Albon and Ricciardo, rounding out your top 10. 11 cars separated by less than a second as well. Very happy to see that at the end of the day. But let's dive in then here for the Mexican Grand Prix.
Here we go then. It's time to race in Mexico City, a place which gave Honda their first ever victory back in 1965. American Richie Ginther won from third on the grid. And what of the Honda-powered cars this year? Well, Red Bull have been going strong here in recent seasons, so can they keep that record going today? At 2,285 metres above sea level, the thin air of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez poses a unique challenge, not just to a driver's skill, but to the efficiency of their engines as well. 17 corners make up a lap of this 2.6-mile circuit, and you can expect incredible speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and overtaking too into the hard braking zones of turns 1 and turn 4. Anthony Davidson is here once again for today's Grand Prix. Let's talk about Mr. Monaco. That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday and will start from pole position. And Mr. Monaco completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Hamilton, Max Verstappen and Perez, Vettel, Leclerc, Albon and Daniel Ricciardo, Ocon, Stroll, Daniel Kvyat and Gasly, Magnussen, Latifi, Romain Grosjean and George Russell, Giovinazzi and Kimi Raikkonen finishes off the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Jeff here, radio check. Check, check, can you hear me? Okay, we had a fantastic result at the last race. Let's try it again here.
No mention of the fact we could be world champion here today from Jeff. Nothing at all, of course, as we head into the Mexican Grand Prix. But here we are then, ready in Mexico City, round 20 of 22. 2 races to go after today. But yeah, like we said, we could officially become world champion if things go our way in this Grand Prix. A ginormous run down towards turn 1 here. If I'm not mistaken, it is by far and away the longest run in towards the first corner of any Grand Prix track on the Formula 1 calendar at the moment. So if we don't get the best start, we need to tuck in that slipstream and then try to absolutely slingshot ourselves down towards that first corner. Like I said, we've gone very, very aggressive with the top-end speed of the car there. So if we get stuck behind Lando, we're really going to struggle through that middle sector. But let's dive in then, ready for the Mexican Grand Prix. Starting P2 on the grid. We've got 2 McLarens, then 2 Mercedes on the front 2 rows. We've got 5 red lights, and it's lights out. And away we go. Lando got a good initial getaway. Actually does, yeah, get off to a pretty good start as we head down towards turn 1 there, as we're going to get swamped by the Mercs in towards the first corner, trying to use a bit of our overtake mode as we head down in towards turn 1, but everyone trying to go for the dives in towards the first corner there. We had someone else, that was Verstappen, trying to sneak past us as well. There's both Mercedes get a little bit caught out together on the exit of the first corner. We're going to be 3 wide as we head back down in towards turn 4 there. We're not in the ideal place for this, but we'll try and hook it up around the outside, almost just about keep it on the white line there, and look at that, it is a cheeky double overtake. We in fact still have both of them on our outside, so very, very aggressive with that move in the end, but we have moved ourselves, well, we've held on to track position at the start of the Grand Prix there, and that was quite a gamble, I'll be honest. We could have very easily picked up some damage in that situation, but yeah, like I said though, if Lando Norris wins this Grand Prix, irrespective of what we do, the title fight will continue on into the Brazilian Grand Prix next weekend, so I mean, I'd love to walk away with another win at the end of today. We have brought more upgrades to the car in the last couple of weeks, obviously, hence why we were able to have that margin from really Japan onwards in the latter stages of this season. But yeah, Lando Norris though 1.6 clear at the end of lap 1. We're going to have to really, really try and knuckle down and close down this gap. There we go, new fast lap of the Grand Prix. We're not going to make this easy for Lando Norris. We would like to wrap it up today, have a bit of fun in the last couple of weeks of this World Championship, but the gap's still holding at about 0.8 of a second as we head back down towards turn 1. Maybe with the DRS we can try and close up the gap a little bit more, but we are going to have to be a bit careful on the rubber as well. Obviously Lando at the moment will get first choice of tyres. Obviously we don't really want to screw him on the strategy there, so there seems to be a battle between Verstappen and Bottas going on behind. Not what Bottas needs at the moment if he wants to hold on to his seat. Right, now we'll have some DRS then on Lando Norris as we head back down towards turn 1. What's the overspeed going to be looking like in towards this first corner? You can see the gap coming down very, very quickly. Not going to be close enough to go for anything in towards turn 1, but it's another half a second taken out of our teammate. The problem is, obviously, we get this close, and then you can't really do a lot with it unless we can get a big run out of turn 3, which we certainly have not In that instance, we're going to drop back a little bit behind our teammate, but we may as well try and stick close. Oh, that's not going to help us. Is that stuck open? No, thank... Oh, that was close. That must have been so close. We must have just shut the DRS before that went, and that could have been World Championship defining in this Mexican Grand Prix, but it is going to leave us with no DRS for a couple of laps here, and this could be absolutely pivotal in this Mexican Grand Prix. We still are obviously gaining a bit on our teammate Lando Norris on the run down towards turn 1, but surely you look in situations like this, we could have potentially given him a big run for his money in towards the first corner, and now I'm probably just again going to have to sit back for a couple of laps because we're really not going to be able to do much without the DRS. Trying to take some slightly different lines to our teammate Lando Norris at the moment, just so we can try and get as much air over the front wing as we possibly can. But I've noticed as well, actually, through the twisty bits, Hamilton, the gap really hasn't opened up to our fellow Englishman just behind us. It really is just sort of ebbing and flowing. Obviously down the back straight, or down the front straightaway even I should say, we pull about half a second over the Mercedes. Obviously help with the slipstream from our teammate Lando Norris as well. You can see through the twisty bits, Hamilton, he does bring that gap back down the other way. So it sort of hovers between about 1.7 and 2.2 seconds, but he isn't losing much. I think we're really going to have to pit now if Lando Norris opts not to in this Grand Prix. We're starting to lose a bit too much time, I think, behind our teammate. At the moment there, you can just see struggling to quite get the front end pointed where I want it to be. As we head through the final turn, is Lando going to pit? No, Lando stays out, so we are going to get the first stop then in this Grand Prix. Make sure we get it slowed down nice and tidily, and it doesn't appear anyone else is coming into the pit lane then, so hopefully we won't get held, but on the other hand we might get some slower traffic, even I should say, in the second half of the Grand Prix. 2.7 isn't particularly great either, and unfortunately they haven't been able to patch up the DRS as well, so we are going to have to really try and work our way through this pack, but we need a couple of quick laps now as we head back out onto the circuit. Where are we going to come out in this Grand Prix? It's going to be right in with the Haas of Romain Grosjean there, just ahead of the Williams of Latifi and Russell. So we're going to try and get back past these guys as soon as possible, ideally before Sector 2 is all Grosjean. You can just see how slow that Haas car is sat on the first couple of corners there. We should get a good run on him out onto the back straight, but obviously with the DRS, Grosjean able to keep it alongside us in towards the next braking zone. We've got way more grip though than the Haas. Clean around the outside we go. Oh, struggling a bit with the back end as we just lock the rears ever so slightly through the corner. But now we're going to lose a bit of time stuck behind Raikkonen. No real opportunities to make anything work in through Sector 2, but we'll try and stick right under the rear wing of the Alfa Romeo there as we head through the next couple of corners. Can we get a run in towards the final sector of the lap? We go clean around the outside in towards the next corner there. Raikkonen keeps the nose in. We have to give him the room, but we got way more grip. And we're back a bit of P15. Yellow flags out. I think that's one of the Ferraris pulling to the wayside though as well. So not what Charles Leclerc needs, and he is out of the Mexican Grand Prix. No safety car, which probably for us is a good thing. Couple more into the pit lane though, as Lando going an extra lap. We're back up into 12th. Oh, there we go. We have now got the DRS back online as we're going to try and line up our move on Kevin Magnussen in towards the final sector of the lap. Can we get a move up the inside? We'll go for a bit of a cheeky send. Lock up the front inside wheel, but we do keep it between the white lines as Lando Norris into the pit lane. So this could be race defining to see where Lando comes out in comparison to ourselves. Rounding the final corner, try and get as little wheel spin as possible. Charles Leclerc's Ferrari is still there. Surely that's a bit dangerous. Should be leaving that out on the track. But where is Lando Norris? I think we have jumped him. Only just, but Lando Norris has stayed out way too long on those soft tyres there. And just like we saw from Verstappen in the Bahrain Grand Prix at the weekend, it seems like you've got to be covering off that undercut a little bit sooner, and unfortunately for our teammate, he has not done so here today, and we're now up into the net lead of this Mexican Grand Prix with just 8 to go, but Lando's going to have fresher rubber to the end. He's still going to be very, very quick. There we go. I'm sure now we're going to see the last couple of cars into the pit lane. It is Bottas, Stroll and Danny Kvyat, if I'm not mistaken, all into the box, and Bottas going on to hard tyres to the end of the Grand Prix. Not too sure what that call is from Mercedes, but he is going to leave Bottas still out in pretty much P4 by himself. So not a particularly risky gamble, but we've just got to keep trying to extend the margin over our teammate Lando whilst we've got some good rubber still on the car. Obviously trying to gain those margins down the straight. If we can keep him outside the 1 second mark though, we should be looking good. Well, with 5 laps to go then, it's starting to shape up to be one of those Grand Prix where, again, we just seem to be so strong in the second half of the races. I don't know if it's the AI really start to struggle. We haven't been hitting any mad laps or anything like that. We haven't really been pushing all too much, but the gap to Lando Norris has opened up to practically 4 seconds now in the latter stages of this Grand Prix there. He might have had some mechanical gremlins as well, like obviously we did with the DRS early on in this race. But look at that, we gained 6 tenths through the first sector and we didn't really do anything all too impressive there. But Lando Norris just falling away in this Grand Prix. For a man so quick on Saturdays, he really does seem to lack the pace come race day on a Sunday here. But yeah, 4.5 laps to go of the Mexican Grand Prix, and if things end how they're looking at the moment, we would be world champion here today. Oh, yellow flags out on lap 16. It's one of the Alpha Tauri's falling to the wayside around a track that Honda have always been strong at. As well, Pierre Gasly out of the Grand Prix there. Again, no safety car though, so no potential late race drama, but yeah, just over 2 to go from the Mexican Grand Prix. Lando's actually falling in towards Hamilton. The gap though hovering around 2 seconds between the pair of them. I thought we might get a late race battle between 2 of our fellow Brits. But again, things all falling into place for us so far in this Mexican Grand Prix. We just can't do anything stupid in the dying stages of this race. Like that. Don't do that, Matt. Just don't do that. Well, round in the final corner then, ready to start the final lap of this Mexican Grand Prix. 6 seconds the gap to Lando Norris behind us in this race. He's only a 1.5 seconds now ahead of Lewis Hamilton in P3 there. Bottas has dropped way back in P4, but Sebastian Vettel's had a good day out in P5 after what has been quite a quiet season by the Ferrari man there. But everything today has fallen into place for ourselves, obviously. It's been a rather up and down season. It has really been a very, very weird World Championship. Obviously, we came in with just about the strongest car over Mercedes. Early races, very, very dominant. We obviously got a couple of upgrades on the car and just had that clear-cut advantage over the Mercs at the front of the field. And Lando and I, for the most part, have been faultless all season as well. Mercedes came back towards the summer break and looked like they could potentially mount a bit of a championship challenge in the second half of the World Championship. But like we said, between Singapore and Japan, we brought a load more upgrades to the car, and really since then, yeah, it went back to being a bit more of a 2-horse race between myself and Lando Norris there. He's been a bit unlucky this year. I'm not going to try and take that away from him, but he also a lot of the time just hasn't had the pace in second half of Grand Prix as the confetti flies as we head through the stadium section for the final time in the Mexican Grand Prix. Arguably that making it one of the best tracks to win the World Championship. We come through the final corner. The McLaren RTG is complete.
Fantastic drive, and it means your driver's world champion. What a result. Enjoy it.
And so the celebrations begin, and well earned they are indeed. It may have looked simple at times, but as any racing driver will tell you, competing at this level, at the very top, is anything but simple. There's no catching them now then. We have a new World Drivers' Champion. Not just victory today then, but the championship as well. What a spectacular season they've had. Congratulations to the whole team. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
Let's focus on the driver of the day. Anthony Davidson, who do you pick?
It's got to be Lando Norris, hasn't it? Smooth, confident and assured. I've got no doubt that he and his team are going to be over the moon with his performance today.
The Constructors' Championship may be a foregone conclusion at the moment, but regardless, let's look at the standings. With that result, McLaren can no longer be touched at the top of the table. They've had their ups and downs this season like all teams, but they've weathered the storm and come out on top. McLaren are world champions once again. Meanwhile, Ferrari have improved their position. A strong weekend from them as they fight their way towards the top. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Well, there we are then, guys, the end of the Mexican Grand Prix. Not too sure how Anthony Davidson could try and claim Lando Norris was the driver of the day there, considering he went backwards. And, yeah, unfortunately, was not able to keep the championship battle going on in towards the Brazilian Grand Prix. But there we go. World champion once again. We've had it 3 times in the My Team career mode, but this one arguably just as sweet in the McLaren RTG. Like I said, that does mean it's complete. Of course, though, we will be rounding out the championship. We'll do last to firsts in both the Brazilian and the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix to finish off the season with hopefully a bit more action for you guys as well there. But it was, yeah, myself, Lando and Lewis Hamilton once again, your 3 on the podium there, all 3 Brits at the top of your finishes there. Bottas in 4th on a bit of a bot strategy ahead of Vettel again, who had a really good day out in P5. Sergio Perez, the homeboy, again, very, very happy, I'm sure to score big points in 6th ahead of Verstappen, Ricciardo, Ocon and Lance Stroll there. You can see the rest of your finishes, Albon down in 12th, and then, of course, just Pierre Gasly and Charles Leclerc not making it to the end of the Grand Prix. Championship-wise, though, 64 points. It's done. If Lando Norris has 2 perfect weekends, he can still only get to 362. So we have done everything we needed to wrap up the World Championship. They're 100 clear of Lewis Hamilton, 130 clear of Valtteri Bottas there. Perez is pretty much guaranteed P5 as well after a mighty consistent season by him. Ricciardo in 6th, still ahead of Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Ocon and Vettel in 10th place there ahead of Gasly, you can see, and then Albon down in 12th. No changes in the Drivers' World Championship. Constructors-wise, Renault get the jump on Racing Point, though 5 points still the gap between those guys, and Ferrari still, once again, just jumped Red Bull in to 5th place as well there. So still 2 big battles going on in towards the final stages of this season. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well. A massive thank you for the continued support at the moment, obviously making some different content on the channel, just sort of seeing what we want to do as well. But yeah, we will be back very, very soon with round 21 for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Starting from the back, it's going to be a fun one. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.